There's a reason people didn't speak up. And it wasn't loyalty. It was fear. Fear of retaliation. Fear of being blacklisted. Fear of taking on one of the most powerful men in music. But now, the silence is breaking. In recent months, Sean "Diddy" Combs has been hit with a wave of lawsuits, alleging everything from sexual assault and trafficking to intimidation, surveillance, and abuse of power. Multiple investigations are underway, including federal raids and new claims surfacing on both sides of the Atlantic. This isn't just a scandal, it's a reckoning. And the empire he built, off charisma, control, and cultural dominance, might finally be showing cracks. The question is, how deep do those cracks really go? Welcome to Inquisitive, the channel where we peel back the layers of fame, power, and scandal to find out what's really going on behind the headlines. Today, we're breaking down how Diddy didn't just shape hip-hop, he controlled it. And how that control may have crossed lines the industry ignored for far too long. Let's get into it. To understand how we got here, you have to understand what Diddy built. Sean Combs didn't just launch a label. He launched a kingdom. Bad Boy Records wasn't a business. It was a movement, a brand built on champagne, bravado, and Billboard hits. In the 90s and early 2000s, Diddy turned artists into icons and himself into a myth. He was everywhere, producing Biggie, dancing in music videos, throwing the kind of parties that made headlines the next morning. His name became shorthand for success, wealth, and influence. Not just in hip-hop, but in the culture at large. But that influence didn't stop at the studio. Diddy expanded into fashion with Sean John, TV with Making the Band, alcohol with Ciroc, and media with Revolt. He built a brand so powerful it couldn't be questioned. Because questioning him meant risking your shot at the spotlight. He didn't just make stars, he controlled who could become one. And that control? That's where the story starts to turn. Because when one person holds the keys to an empire, they also hold the power to lock people out, or silence them entirely. Long before the lawsuits and luxury jets, Diddy was just a hungry intern with something to prove. He got his start at Uptown Records in the early 90s, where he quickly went from assistant to A&R genius. His eye for talent? Unmatched. Case in point, a young Brooklyn rapper named Christopher Wallace, better known as the notorious B.I.G. Diddy didn't just sign Biggie. He launched him, he styled him, branded him, produced him. He helped turn an underground lyricist into a hip-hop icon. But just as Diddy's influence was skyrocketing, it all came crashing down. In 1993, Uptown Records abruptly fired him. No warning, no ceremony, just gone. Most people would have faded. Diddy did the opposite. Within weeks, he founded Bad Boy Records, backed by Clive Davis at Arista. And from there, it was domination. With Biggie as the flagship artist, Bad Boy exploded. Hits, awards, feuds, headlines. It wasn't just music, it was a cultural reset. Diddy positioned himself as the face of it all, a mogul in mink coats, champagne in hand, commanding respect from Wall Street and the streets. But that kind of ascent doesn't come without consequences. Every empire has a foundation, and sometimes it's built on silence, strategy, and survival instincts. You can't control an empire without controlling the story, and Sean Combs mastered that early. In fact, you could argue that while he produced some of the greatest hip-hop records of all time, his real masterpiece was his image. Think about it. He went from background executive to the man front and center in every video, dancing in white suits, shouting ad-libs over his own artists. While everyone else was trying to make music, Diddy was making himself famous. And when the fame turned dangerous, when Biggie was murdered in 1997, and speculation swirled about Bad Boy's involvement, Diddy flipped the script. He mourned publicly, released I'll Be Missing You, and recast himself as the grieving friend, the survivor. He took control of the narrative, one that could have buried him, and used it to elevate himself into global icon status. The press followed his lead. But that wasn't a one-time move. It became the template. When lawsuits popped up over copyright, business disputes, and even violence, he settled. Fast, quietly. Because for Diddy, losing a little money was better than losing the narrative. And when his former artists started to speak up, when Mace accused him of withholding publishing, when Danity Kane collapsed amid rumours of manipulation and exploitation, when Aubrey O'Day started talking, Diddy stayed above it. No interviews, no accountability, just silence and a smirk. And the public? We mostly let him get away with it. Because the persona worked. He was the American dream in designer sunglasses. A symbol of success. and he made sure no one questioned the price of admission. Then came Revolt TV. On paper, it was a smart move. A black-owned media network promoting culture, music, and activism. But let's be real, it was also a fortress. A way to shape his own legacy in real time. To stay the tastemaker, the boss, the man who gave hip-hop its voice, while silencing the ones who tried to speak against him. He didn't just control the media, he became it. And when you do that, you don't need to deny the rumors because the spotlight stays exactly where you want it. Flattering, filtered, and on you. In the music industry, there are moguls and then there are gatekeepers. Diddy was both. On paper, he was a talent scout, a tastemaker, a visionary. But behind the scenes, he was something else entirely. A man whose control extended far beyond the recording booth. Diddy didn't just shape careers, he controlled access to opportunity. If you wanted a shot at success in hip-hop, R&B, or even fashion, he didn't have to say yes. He just had to not say no. And if you ever challenged him, if you questioned the contract, spoke to the press, or tried to break free, you weren't just cut off, you were erased. Take Mace. Once one of Bad Boy's brightest stars, he spent years publicly calling out the label, and Diddy himself for exploitative contracts, and refusal to return ownership of his publishing. According to Mace, it didn't matter how much money he offered to buy it back. Control wasn't just about profit, it was about keeping the upper hand. Then there's Danity Kane, the girl group formed under Diddy's eye on making the band. Public humiliation, constant lineup changes, sudden disbandment. Former members, including Aubrey O'Day, have since spoken about alleged manipulation, emotional abuse, and a culture where women were pitted against each other for camera time and approval. Day 26. Darband, Loon, total 112. The list of artists who faded after falling out with Diddy is long. Some cite creative differences. Others cite something darker. Fear. Fear of what happens when you say too much. Of being iced out of the industry by someone who knows all the players and how to play them. Behind the flash and charisma was a system of silence. NDAs were standard, settlements were strategic, loyalty wasn't just expected, it was enforced. And if you didn't play along, you didn't just lose a deal, you lost your future. In this environment, speaking out wasn't brave, it was career suicide. And that's how a culture of control sustains itself. You build a legend so big that no one dares to question it. You build an empire so powerful, the walls look like protection, but they're really a cage. Diddy wasn't just a product of the system, he helped design it. And now, as that system starts to unravel, we're finally hearing what those silenced voices have been holding back for years. Because when gatekeepers fall, suddenly the floodgates open. It would be easy to look at Diddy's story as a one-man downfall, but that would miss the point entirely. Because empires like this, they don't survive for decades unless the culture lets them. This is the same industry that glorified control as confidence, that praised dominance as leadership, and that turned loyalty into silence. The same system where NDAs are handed out like party favors, and where speaking out is a guaranteed way to be labeled difficult, ungrateful, or worse, blacklisted. And let's be honest, this didn't just happen in the shadows. There were rumors, whispers, off-the-record stories that floated for years. People knew, but the cost of saying something was too high, and the rewards for staying quiet, massive. So Diddy didn't operate alone, he operated with cover. Media executives, collaborators, PR teams, and even fans who refused to believe their idol could fall. But now, with multiple lawsuits, federal investigations, and an industry that's no longer invincible, things are shifting, slowly, quietly, but shifting. And that raises a bigger question. In the wake of these allegations, and in the shadow of other high-profile cases like the one surrounding Diddy, or the federal scrutiny facing artists like R. Kelly before him, are we entering a new kind of Me Too moment? One where power and celebrity no longer guarantee silence? Where hip-hop, finally, is being forced to reckon with its own gatekeepers? Because if we are, this isn't just about Diddy, it's about the system that built him, and the silence that sustained him. And if we're lucky, maybe it's finally time to break both. If you found this breakdown helpful, disturbing, or just long overdue, hit that subscribe button. We're not here to chase headlines, we're here to break them apart. Let me know in the comments. Do you think this is just another fall from grace, or the start of something bigger? And if you want to keep digging into the dark side of influence, check out our deep dive on kidfluencers, it's linked below. Until then, stay inquisitive.